Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, Kate.
Hi. You don't really see me. I'm on, I had eye surgery yesterday, so I might turn off my screen and just listen.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Sounds like, yes, do that.
I'm not supposed to look at you guys.
Yeah, shut your screen off. It's nice to see you. We're glad you're here.
All right.
Now go away.
No, stay with us, but
Oh, she's-
we
she's-
understand if camera's on.
Yeah, she's the best.
I gotta say, I'm a little sad I don't get to be downtown while everything's happening.
I know. So much excitement right now. You'll be there soon enough. I saw your space. Looks good.
Cool. I hope I have a desk.
I think I saw a desk in there.
I'm a little worried.
They've done some built-in desks, which are great, and also a little funny because in some places they don't need as many of the built-in desks as they have. So, all right, should we get started, Russ?
Yeah, no, I'll go ahead and share and have you take it away.
Sounds good. All right. So it's great to see you all for lunch today. Thank you so much for being here. Many of you have been here for previous lunches, and some of you are probably here for your first lunch. We're not actually eating lunch. I forgot to bring mine today, so. But feel free to eat. I think that would be great. One day we'll be together eating lunch and talking, which I think will be fun. And Russ and I are also thinking about other times because we know that lunch isn't always is often not the best time for many people. But the purpose of this is engagement, right? I have 3 priorities coming in. They are equity, engagement, and deep learning. And this is just one of the many opportunities that we have to create engagement. But like I said, we are looking at maybe having one lunch and one a different time or a different day, a different kind of event like this. Anyway, we've had 5 or 6 of them so far, I think, and they've been great. And so I really look forward to these times in my week. So it's an opportunity to engage staff, parents, members of the public invested in our success, and it's open to everybody. We've had, again, we have James on, a principal. We have families, we have teachers and staff. So it's open to everybody who's invested in our success. What we do is we communicate district updates. I have a couple of updates today. And we've been aligning some of those updates to our strategic goals. We have 6 strategic goals as a district that we set this summer that we've been working toward that not everyone knows. But we want to make sure they're more public and we want then to build them into our strategic planning process that's going to start this summer. It's also a place, these lunches with Tom, for open conversation about BSD-wide issues. I would just ask that if there are specific issues about individual students or staff, that those come directly to me. I'm very happy to have those conversations. I think it's more appropriate for us to have those conversations in a smaller, less public setting. So please feel free to bring any specific questions to me directly. And then it's also an opportunity to build relationships and community. We don't have a breakout room today, but we've done some breakout rooms, and those have been kind of fun just to connect people on the call. And so that's the purpose. And you see the agenda. Agenda stands. Russ is going to hold me to under 15 minutes.
Yeah, you're already using the time, so.
I'm moving. All right, I'm ready to roll. Can you go to the 6 goals?
Nope.
You took that slide out?
I actually thought you did. I think maybe Karen accidentally took it out.
All right, so we have 6 goals. The first goal is around building inclusive and equitable communities. And the second goal is 3rd grade reading and math. And the fourth goal is eighth grade math, is related to eighth grade math. And then we have a couple of goals, 4 and 5, that are related to access to higher level courses for all students at the high school level. And the fifth, we can't see that's only 2 of the goals, Russ. Well, I'll just talk through them.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. For some reason, I think it's just a bad connection. There we go.
Okay. And then that 6th goal is that our faculty and staff are a mirror of our student population. And so you can see the left are those goals that I mentioned, the goal areas, and then the measures are on the right-hand side. And again, these are just goals that we set pretty quickly this summer to get us in the habit of setting goals and tracking our progress toward them. But we're going to be heading into a strategic planning process very shortly that will set our goals for the next 5 years, and that should be ready this early fall of 2021. And we're going to be looking for engagement around that process shortly. So today we're going to talk about this goal 3. So one of the goal areas that we wanted to dig in on was around our math proficiency and how we were preparing students for high school math, because we had learned that some students, particularly students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, do not have the same participation in higher level math courses coming into high school. And so we wanted to look at 8th grade and see where our students were in 8th grade. We're also looking at all grades, but this would be a primary time to look at them. This is a pivotal point for us to look at as students are getting ready for 9th grade math. So this is the goal is that students are at grade level in math by the end of 8th grade. And this is actually, we use the Smarter Balanced assessment, which we call the SBAC. We haven't administered that since 2018 and 19, the spring of 2018 and 19. So those are the most recent whole district scores that we have. And you can see where we are. Again, these are tests at one point at one time. So they're not the end all be all, but they do give us a sense of where our students are. And what you can see is that we have a lot of work to do for all students, that 49% of students being proficient or advanced on the state assessment shows that we have about 50% of our students who aren't working at grade level in math. And that number is highlighted even more when you look at the disparities between students who qualify for free and reduced lunch and students who don't. So it sort of highlights the work that we have.
Yeah, and I want to just point out too that this slide is for comparison to the next slide. So this slide is our 3rd grade assessment. And on our next slide, we're going to talk about how we're going to see the shift in these numbers a little bit too, to the 8th grade. So it's important, I think, to compare those periods of time where we're at. So this is actually how we're doing on an interim level at 8th grade. And these are brand new scores. When we do this test, we do it a couple of times a year from my understanding, Tom. And this is the most recent test that we've had of 8th graders. So this is the 8th grade data.
Yeah, so the last slide showed 3rd grade. We have that for 8th grade too. And what you see are similar numbers for 8th grade on the Smarter Balanced assessment, that SBAC spring 2018-19 assessment. In addition to that, we do regular curriculum-based assessments throughout the course of the year. And so this is the winter assessment in math for 8th graders. And it shows you the percentage of students who are at or above grade level on that SBAC. So again, it's these numbers are better than the numbers on the state assessment, which makes sense in some ways. The state assessment tends to be a little more rigorous, and this assessment is done more closely to the curriculum that's being taught. So students tend to do a little bit better on these interim assessments, but you can still see the work we have to do for all of our students, and particularly for our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. So this is an area that we are focusing on, and we need to continue to focus on. One of the things that we've done this year is we've really tried to prioritize our professional learning and around number talks in math. So giving students the opportunity to not just solve problems on their own or find answers on their own, but to be able to explain and be able to explain and talk through how they arrive at answers, which is a really great way to help students have agency in their learning. And also, if you can explain how you got to an answer, you understand it much better. And so it's a good learning strategy too. So we focused on number talks this year, and there's actually professional development yesterday on number talks. All right, so we've been adding those sort of updates on our strategic goals each week, and so going through one of those each week. Yesterday, shifting gears, was a great day for BSD. We had a number of really wonderful things happen yesterday. The first is that downtown BHS opened. We had our teachers and staff in downtown BHS. We had the mayor and a couple of our state legislators and partners in the state there, Senator Brewer-Ruth, Representative Queens, and we did a ribbon cutting. And you see Claire right there, School Board Chair Claire Wool, and myself and Lauren McBride, the new principal, next to me, and we just we had a great day, and it was just great to see the excitement in the staff that were there, and also students. We had a number of students there, and they were very excited about being there and sort of covering it, and they'll be there tomorrow. So we start tomorrow at downtown BHS. The other big thing that happened yesterday was that the budget passed. So with 76% of voters approving the budget, that was huge. We so appreciate the support from our community. I've learned right when I got here, before I got here, as I was doing a listening tour, that the community is engaged and is proud of their engagement in our schools. And I just think there's so much power there, and I really appreciate the engagement and the support. We were really intentional about getting the tax increase percentage down as low as we possibly could without cutting any programs. And so that was the philosophy of the budget development, and we were very disciplined. We looked for savings, we found savings. We also got help from the governor. $3.5 million came through from the state. Both the governor put it in his budget amendment, and then it was supported through by Senator Brewer and Representative Kowinski and others to help us make this happen. Many others. So thank you for being in support of the budget and our schools. And the last is that we learned that vaccinations, the governor yesterday told us that he is intending to have all school staff vaccinated by mid-April. And that is a huge announcement that is really exciting. I'm personally excited for myself and my children and my team and for our entire district. The other thing that happened over the break was that we got an opinion piece from Secretary French. Dan French is the Secretary of Education, and he wrote an opinion that said that, again, that we all know we need to be that optimal learning happens in person for the majority of students. That's been pretty, it's not true for every single student, but it's been pretty clearly experienced for the majority of students. And so he's saying that we kind of taking that as a foundational understanding, which I know we may not all share, but that's where he was coming from. And that with vaccinations coming, we are hopeful to get back in person. And so the governor has been saying for a few months that he wants to be in person more in April. And so we're not exactly sure what that means. He did in that opinion piece say that would mean reducing the physical distancing requirements from 6 feet to 3 feet. And I told my team before the break, the only way we would be able to get back more in person is if the physical distancing guidelines are less than 6 feet, if they go down to something like 3 feet, and if there are vaccinations out there. And so to my surprise, these announcements came out over the break. We also I learned today that the CDC is considering reducing their recommended distancing guidelines from 6 to 3 feet, because we've also heard from the president and the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardena, the new Secretary of Education, that everybody wants to get more students back in person from the Secretary of Education to the president, to our governor, to our Secretary of Education here in Vermont. And that the science does not necessarily say that 6 feet, tell us that 6 feet is the right physical distancing, that there's some combination of physical distancing, of masking, of testing, and of vaccinations that would allow this to happen. So right now, all I've done is told my team, which includes my cabinet, which includes all of our principals and our directors and executive directors, to start thinking with their teams what it would take to be back in person more. It's going to be a lot more complicated for secondary schools because of scheduling. And so I've just asked, James is on the call, I've asked everyone to start thinking about what it would take to do that. And there's more to come. I don't know if the guidance will change. I'm not sure when it would change, if it does. And we have to really watch that and the vaccinations. The other thing that came out today, and we're just in the very early stages of thinking about this, but an organization called Chiefs for Change reached out to me a couple of weeks ago to ask us if we wanted to talk to them about testing. And so one of the strategies that districts across the country are using is testing of students, regular testing to make sure that we are aware of any students who may be asymptomatic, and make sure students are aware if they are, and families are aware, and also to provide some level of confidence that the people who are in school are aware of their health, and that we don't have asymptomatic students in school. So that could be a part of a strategy to get back more in person this spring. But again, all this is brand new. Just the past day or two, we haven't really messaged it out to the public in any significant way, and I haven't directed my staff to do anything other than to start thinking about what it would take. So those are the updates. Big days. Yes, big day yesterday. A lot going on. And is it conversation, Russ? Am I at 15?
Look at that. Perfect timing.
Right on time.
Timing.
All right. So why don't we pull down the slide deck and we can talk. So what are your thoughts, questions, ideas? It's great to see you all. I see lots of familiar faces, some coaches, some teachers, some families, some school board members, a little bit of everybody out here. It's great to see you all. And a shout out to Megan. I gave Megan Munson-Warnken a shout out the first time she said, Tom, you need to figure out a way to get something going, like a press conference or something. And that was what got this started, as well as I have a mentor who did something called coffee with, what was it? Cookies with Carl. And so that's where we landed today. So thank you, Meg, for your ideas to get this going. And we also have Becca McCrae here. Becca's here to be a participant, but also to help us, because we know questions may be kind of COVID related, and Becca is our COVID coordinator and has just been an enormously important part of our team in making sure that we're up to speed on what we need to know, and that we're keeping ourselves safe, and that we're able to be in school. So, all right, Kate.
Hi. So I know that the news that educators and staff in schools getting vaccinated is really brand new. But I'm hoping that I'm just curious if you guys are going to explore, like, as a district, getting us vaccinations, or if we have any idea how that part will work, knowing that they said that we wouldn't be registering through the state website.
There, Becca is going to want, I'm going to ask Becca, I'll ask you to talk about that, but it's just so you know, it is a moving target right now. We're getting information. We are in dialogue right now about what could and could not work. And we have some information, but there are moving pieces here. So I imagine we're going to get much more clarity over the course of the next couple of days. But Becca, what do we know right now?
So we are in a holding pattern of gathering information from the state. But from what I do know and what I have been hearing from other districts, I think it's going to work a lot like our testing has worked. So the National Guard is involved. I think the AHS is going to create a separate site for us to sign up. That's all I really know right now. We're definitely in the beginning stages, and we were told that we would have more information by Friday. So we're just kind of like in a hang tight, waiting for more information. As soon as we know, I'm sure Russ will be putting out a district-wide email to you all, but we details yet.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, wait, thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing throughout this whole pandemic, Becca. Thank you.
Hear, hear. This all happened really quickly. So I had no indication until Wednesday of last week that this was even in consideration. Wednesday, we got an email asking for us to put the survey out. And so we put that survey out with a really quick timeline. And so Russ and I talked about it, and we thought, okay, there's something going on here related to the vaccine. It seemed pretty clear, right? So, but it's all come about in the last couple of days. So that's why there's the information is going to probably be kind of coming out in bits and spurts. Meg.
Thank you, Becca, and thank you, Tom, and everyone. How are you deciding, is it blanketing BSD? Is it student-facing kids? Is it substitutes and other people who come into the building? How are you all deciding who gets it? And how is that decision being made, I guess? Are there layers to it?
There are layers, and there are still decisions that need to be made. It is school-based staff. So it's school district personnel, which is all the staff that are in schools and folks that work for the school district who spend time in the schools. The phasing is something that they have told us that maybe we will get some more guidance on it, but they've told us that the districts will be making kind of their own rules around it. And so I imagine what we will do is work together regionally and guidance will start to come out so that we're not each individual district creating our own rules, which has been an issue. It was an issue already with vaccinations for our health professionals because it was that information didn't come out altogether and districts interpreted it differently and it created problems. So I'm going to be working as hard as I can with the regional superintendents to make sure that we have alignment around how we're doing this. But we had a meeting yesterday and everyone's just processing this right now and waiting for more information before we can really fully develop and message a plan. But Becca, you probably have way more information than I do on this.
I guess are you thinking it will affect substitute teachers? Because I've heard recently that 60% of teacher absences or para absences are unfilled. So will you make an effort because they're not through BSD, they're through an outside third party to get them folded in to the vaccination? And it might increase the availability of substitute teachers.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that yet, but I want substitute teachers to get the vaccination. Yeah, because we also have different types of substitutes, right? We have substitutes that we contract through Kelly subs. We have building-based subs. We have some district level subs. So but I think it's important that substitutes, because you're in front of students, and that's who we're really trying to get the vaccines to, and our substitutes are really important, right? Because they they help us piece together when we need support in places. And so I think, yeah, subs will be a key part of this vaccination process.
If it helps, the definition that we were given of who would be getting the vaccination is, quote, school staff who are in regular contact with students will be eligible to receive this vaccine, including educators, support professionals, food service staff, bus drivers, and more, unquote. Like Tom said, I think there's always this general who is eligible, and then there's a larger conversation around how that looks and to be uniform with other districts. As he said, it did cause a problem when the group 1A was defined. And when we got to the point of defining group 1A at our school district, the state had put out a list of people who qualified. And so people in our district were not included, that were included in other districts because of the timing of when our list was created.
Just a question. This is Anthony Karikas, paraeducator at Hunt. Do we know which vaccine this is? What the name of it is?
There will be a choice of vaccine. And so I'm actually hearing some different information on that, but we heard from the city today that there's going to be a choice for our educators. I think I had heard that it was the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Actually, interestingly, hearing from the governor and Dr. Levine yesterday, they're really promoting and saying that they would get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I think there's going to be some work to make sure, because the Moderna and what's the other vaccine, the two, yeah, have such high efficacy rates that there's worry that people are going to hold out for those and not want the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, if it had come out first, everyone would have been amazed at the efficacy rates of that vaccine. So I'm going for the Johnson & Johnson. I think it sounds like there's going to be some level of choice, but that's what we're hearing right now. But again, thank you for the question, Anthony, and still lots of clarity that we're still gathering. And Becca, what do you think? That was new news to me, Becca, when we heard the choice this morning. So maybe I missed that yesterday.
There's a little bit of that in the Burlington Free Press today as well. My understanding is that the ones that are being school-based will be Johnson & Johnson, but then you have the opportunity, if you wish to have Moderna or Pfizer, to get it at Walgreens, is what it seems to be the information out there.
And we're still figuring out how the distribution. So they're telling us that districts will be distributing in the way that we've been doing the testing, not in the same way, like we won't roll it out the exact same way, but in the way that the Vermont Department of Health and has worked with us, and the Agency of Education has worked with us and then we do the testing. They're saying that it'll be a similar type of rollout for the vaccination. That get your answer, Anthony? It's a little.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for being on.
Welcome.
What else is on people's minds? Could be this, could be 8th grade math, could be, I don't know, summer. Go ahead, Meg.
Now you have to be quiet. I always have something, first of all, as you probably have gathered. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to just put this out there into the ether, into the environment. And then, do what you want with it, and the community can do what it wants. The two things I'm thinking a lot about right now, as somebody with a senior in high school, is I'm thinking a lot about the lack of support at BHS, and it's not just this year. So I just want to name, it's not a COVID specific, like that probably has intensified it. but it was a problem before, and it continues to be a problem of any kind of college counseling or support. I know this not just from my son who has me. I've been a college professor forever, so he's actually in a better spot than most. But I'm really feeling it as an equity issue. And, you know, I know that there are some, like, you know, there's a parent night, but then the parent night isn't posted and it's not distributed if you couldn't make it. And the sessions I've seen with both my son and my niece, who is in a very different place than my son in terms of college readiness. And I've already talked to individuals about this. It was pretty, it was anemic. It was anemic. And now we've got BHS kids who've applied to really good schools that they can get into where they will get no money. And if their parents, in this case of the few I'm thinking about, their parents don't have the information and they're not getting it from anywhere else, they haven't paid a college consultants $4,500, for example. And so now they're getting into schools that they literally can't afford to go to because there's been no conversation at the school level about, you know, being smart, strategizing. And again, I've seen students, from my perspective as a college professor, mortgage away their futures to get an early childhood ed degree, for example, or a social work degree, and they're in $200,000 in debt because they didn't have support. So I just want to be thinking about that as we move forward. And then I keep coming back to PLPs as a place, as this space where it could be really powerful space, but you know, I have a 10th grader and a 12th grader, and that is not how they've been used in BSD. And so I guess my question to you is, you know, are you thinking about, I know you're now thinking about grading and some consistency around grading, which I think is a long overdue conversation, what they mean, you know, how do we, I've heard from lots of even district folks and school-based folks that different teachers do things really differently. And so then we've got this sort of hodgepodge of like, what does any of it mean? But also what's the conversation about PLPs, which were instituted without support at the school level to be done well, but have this incredible potential if we decide to do them well. And could address, I think, a lot of the issues we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important feedback. The PLP conversation, the PLP idea makes a lot of sense, right? The PLP is about providing agency for students and connecting them to resources in a strategic way. And so college is one of those first kind of connection points that we're going to want to make for students after they finish. So I think that makes sense. We are working on the PLPs. I was in a couple of 9th grade classes, and they were starting their PLPs when we were at Edmonds, one of the first days back at Edmonds, but I haven't dug in a whole lot to sort of the depth of the work that's happening there. So I think that's definitely an area that I have on my radar, and sort of thinking about, even as we're going into the strategic planning process, we have a portrait of a graduate, right? So how do we align the competencies of a BSD graduate, right? And back map those. And some of that work has happened, and that's also connected to the proficiency work that's happening, which I know there are really strong feelings on all sides about the proficiency work. And so I think for me, one of the big things we need to do is make sure that we've in the proficiency grading, we've built in inconsistencies. All right. So there's like a guaranteed inconsistency in the way that grading happens, because at the high school, because you can choose if you're gonna use on quizzes and homework assignments and that type of thing, the type of grading you use. So I think that's deep work for us. It's all interconnected, of course, which makes it more exciting, but also a little more complicated. So I really want to dig in there. But I'm wondering about the support for college for applying to colleges. I was thinking that was a part of what we're doing. I haven't heard a lot about the concerns there, so I'm interested to hear more about what those are. And I know Kate is closely connected with this work too, and could probably speak to some of this as well. So Kate, do you want to go, and then?
Yeah, I think I've had a different experience. I have a son who's a sophomore now at St. Michael's, and he had great support from his counselor throughout the college process. He applied to 6 schools and got into all of them. And navigating, as far as like navigating financial aid and scholarships, we have nights with Soren Drews from VSAC, and we work really hard to make that available to everybody, and for them to know that VSAC is a resource, so that they don't have to do it during school time. That can happen outside of school time. Our counselors also have meetings with each student, and they go through in the beginning of the school year. It starts with seniors, then they move to juniors, and then sophomores and freshmen. So they go through it really systematically to make sure that everyone is getting attention and for college planning. So I'm sorry that the experience has been different for different people. And as far as PLPs, my department doesn't have a lot to do with that, except for I know that I believe it's Gail Botello is one of the people spearheading PLPs at the high school, and that they've been working, and we've set aside different days during the school year for students to work on PLPs during school time. And I know that as a substitute teacher, if I was in a room, I'd be like, hey guys, this is something that would look great in your PLP. Please try to put that in there. So I hope that touches on a lot of different things. And I just want to give a shout out to Meg Hoghart, who's a director of school counseling, and she's been in the position for just over a year now, I believe. And she's amazing and really making our department move up notches into a really great place.
If you don't mind if I just follow up, thank you for that, Kate. And I agree, I love Meg Huckert a lot. I did talk to Maggie Weintraub because the current 10th graders, just to your point about the systematic process that kids go through, the 9th graders last year, current 10th graders, actually missed their one-on-one sessions with counselors because of COVID. They were scheduled for right after COVID hit, so late March, early April. And I touched base with Maggie about 3 weeks ago because I was wondering if those 10th graders would have individual meetings with their counselors. And I was told really clearly that they would not. And so part of my concern is that right now they're operating in an opt-in. So I have, and I see some of us on the call have 10th graders planning for 11th grade now, who've literally never met with their counselor in 9th or 10th grade, and that there's no plans. And my question to her was, I said, so I'm not hearing any urgency to meet with these kids who've literally been at Burlington High School for 2 years, who you may never have met, unless they've chosen to reach out to you. You don't know if they want to go to college. You don't know what their goals are, or how they should be mapping out their 11th and 12th grade. And the answer I got was, yes, there's not urgency. Kids can choose to come. And so my concern is for kids who know they need help, right, and are willing to reach out right now, the 10th graders, to plan, they'll get it. Fisher's fine. I can coach him through what to choose for college, but he has a lot of peers and friends who have no idea what they should be taking, how they should be thinking ahead, what looks good, or what will challenge them, what will feed them. So I'm just not, the conversation was really clear. It's not happening for 10th graders. It didn't happen when they were 9th graders.
I will feel free to I'll bring that to Meg as soon as I'm back from medical leave, and know that that wasn't the impression I had as a person who works in the office. And Maggie is my son's counselor, and she's awesome. So I'm going to put that in there. And I forgot the other point I was going to talk about, but we do have, obviously this year didn't happen the way we wanted it to. And over the summer, we had started to plan wanting to push into homeroom because it wasn't advisory anymore, and have counselors go in and make sure we're working with students on a regular basis. And I was vying to help go in there because I like teaching and being with students, and I know that I can deliver some of the curriculum also. So we're really working to up the game and make push into different places instead of having all one-on-one. Personally, when we used to have a class called Senior Seminar, and when that went away, it was devastating to my older son because he really wanted to take that, because that's a great place where there was a lot of planning it was a year-long course, but in the beginning of the year, it talked about college prep, and everyone wrote essays, whether they were college bound or not. And so I think part of what our vision was for pushing into homeroom or advisory was to start doing this type of information again and on a more regular basis. Because when you think of almost 1,000 kids, it's hard to get to every single one of them with the amount of days that you have.
I saw Kate's hand was up and Alex and Claire's hand's up, and Alex also had a question in the chat. I think I can do a quick clarification on Alex's question, and then Kate, and then Claire. Does that sound okay? So Alex asks about the proficiency-based grading and where there's choice in that grading. And so we have, in our guidance, asked that all schools, that all teachers use traditional grading for the core academic, for the academics, and then use proficiency grading or proficiencies for the habits of work and learning. And so that's pretty clear. And then, but we also in our guidance have language that says that teachers can choose whether they use proficiency grading within the traditional grading, right? So you may see some 1 through 4 grading in homework and quizzes. And so that's, but in one class, but not in another. And then I've found that it has, or I've heard from students, I have a student advisory council, and they've told me that it's been implemented and consistently in classes, in their own classes. So we are going to have a conversation about this at our April and personnel meeting, board committee meeting. So we're gonna this is deep work, right? But I do think this year I've asked the team to just make sure we're consistently implementing what we say we implement, and then work on improvements and updates as we move forward. And that's probably that will be a bigger lift. So I hope that helps, Alex. Kate, and then Claire.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for doing this. This is great. I wanted to sort of echo or support Meg's statement. I have a senior and a freshman at BHS, and I think it's a kind of a bigger process through all of the guidance. For us, the issue started, the transition from middle school to high school was rough. Not just because of knowing what is going on. I think that's improved. I think all of the guidance stuff has improved, but there was a really rough period for our seniors, now seniors, and probably juniors who were in the school a couple of years ago. And I think COVID has really, of course, like everything, amplified that. But I would love to just raise that issue that there are some things that are going to get missed because of COVID. And I really hope that guidance is kind of on top of that. Choosing classes for my freshmen was kind of like, okay, whatever, I guess we'll make changes, when we know better. But it didn't feel like we had a plan. Guidance got back to us with questions and all, but it was not a, what's the word? It was a defensive posture in a way, not in a negative way, but it was our questions were answered. It wasn't, here's the information. Here's how we go about it. So I'd just like to see, I guess I'd advocate for some more outward action from guidance on a district-wide basis, not just in high school.
Got
it. I would echo the same. I don't know if Tom, you were following up with that.
No, just acknowledging. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it, Kate.
And I think for juniors and seniors, having a graduate, a senior now, and a sophomore as well, I'm thrilled with the leadership of Meg Hughart and her arrival to BHS, the competence of her knowledge and expertise. But to your point, there is time in the school day, and senior seminar that did go away when our students came to BHS was very upsetting. But we also had meetings about it and thought it really could be a junior seminar, because junior year by senior year, you're applying if you're going early decision, or if you're, entering your senior year and you have met your credits, or you're only taking one class, and people can junior year find out that they could be doing internships or getting full-time jobs and utilizing their senior year as a flex year if they're completing their final courses. So again, echoing the support of what the public has shared with you today, Tom, and seeing how we can integrate those opportunities for students in the classroom, whether it's through a junior seminar, learning that, as well as connecting with our transition 8th graders, families coming to BHS, knowing criteria for post-secondary education. And the goal is not everyone's going to potentially on the path to college, but everyone should be prepared and have the choice to be able to go and make that decision, but they have, the information. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. It's helpful for me too, because I wasn't sure if we were talking more about this year. I know this year was kind of extremely challenging for the counseling department because of scheduling. We had to reschedule the building multiple times, and now it's more settled. But we're moving into a new space, so everyone's sort of up to their ears in everything that's going on there. But it sounds like it's not an issue that's specific to this year. It's sort of some of the way that the school has been structured, right? To not necessarily be supportive of. I think that's part of our work, really, to be student centered. We're pretty adult centered as an organization, and I think we need to keep taking care of our adults and valuing them, and we also need to make sure that the decisions we're making are in the best interest of our students, always, right? And so I think there's always that push and pull, but I think one of the things that we can be conscious about is really thinking about students' individual needs and being really centered on students as we develop plans, as we make decisions. And I think that's big work for us. We're part of this group called the Deeper Learning Dozen. So it's 12 districts across North America, and facilitated by the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And they've been doing a lot of work with this group and with us this past few months around emergence and the importance of engaging students, staff, families in the district level and school level sort of development work. A lot of times schools and districts develop things that are from the district office or from the school leadership team, and then roll them out right to students and families and staff. And this group, this Deeper Learning Dozen, is really challenging all of us to think about it in the reverse, right? How to bring the people who are most directly impacted by our decisions in first, and have those voices drive the plans that we make. And it takes longer. And it's a little tangential to what we're talking about, but I think that we don't always, it's not our instinct necessarily in education anywhere to start with students and what they really need from us and when they need it, and build our systems from there. We tend to build them in the reverse order, which is not usually best for our students. So that's work that we'll be doing as a district too. And I'll also bring this back. I know Kate will bring it back, but I'll also talk to Meg, and I'm meeting regularly every other week with Lauren and McBride, our high school principal. So I'll be talking to her about that as well. Other thoughts or questions? Leslie, were you going to say something? It looked like you were getting ready. No? I owe you an email, Leslie. It's good to see you. Leslie's my daughter's PE teacher too, right? Did I get that right? Yeah. Thank you.
You owe her an email about your daughter?
No. Bianca, if it was the twins, they're always doing something, on the edge. Bianca's always on the straight and narrow.
She's a great girl. She's a great student and she's very athletic and she is very kind to everyone. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Leslie. Meg.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak again all the time, but I really appreciate that you just shared about this. What is it called? Deep learning? This
Yes, the deeper learning dozen. So there's a guy named Jal Mehta, Jalmahta. He's and he is sort of not the founder, but he's been talking about deeper learning for the past 10 or 15 years, writing books about it. And as a district been a part of that, this deeper learning dozen for 3 years.
We have, Burlington has?
We have. This is our 4th year in it. It's been I think the problem is, one of the challenges with this work is that it's deep work, right? Deeper learning, it takes time. And also when you're a part of a group that goes off to conferences, it's hard to sort of get a critical mass to go somewhere and to bring information back and to share that information around the cabinet or the district. And we've been fortunate this year. One of the kind of silver linings is that because they've been virtual, I've brought 10 people in to that work. And it's allowed us to sort of think about it in a way that's more connected across the leadership right now. So right now it's just, anyway, but we're part of it. We're going to keep signing on because it's great work, and districts from Madison, Wisconsin to a couple districts in British Columbia, Salem and Waltham in Massachusetts. So it's been a great experience for individuals who have been a part of it. Victor and Bonnie Johnson-Aiden have been sort of primarily a part of it. But now we're sort of expanding the scope a little bit. So
I gotta go, but I just want to make a pitch for better communication. I think I'll just be on that horn until I see communication that works, because I can tell you as an educator and a parent, if I knew our district was doing this, and to hear that we've been doing it for 4 years is sort of, I'm flabbergasted actually, like that would make us all feel, it's hopeful. And to have you come in as such a student-centered leader, which is new to us, is even more hopeful. So I just want to encourage the district, to send out the ribbon cutting video, and to tell us you're in this deeper learning collective with other school districts around the country, and let us know what those school districts are. So we, just as like more is better. And this is a district that has had really a tough time with communication, and it just builds hope. And, so often on time, like we passed our budget by 76 or 78%, but it would just make that lift so much easier if there was better communication, not just to the BSD parents and guardians, but to Burlington, like people on the street, that, our district is doing this cool work with folks from around the country. That's really important information. And I don't understand why it's not getting out, but it's, how deeply invested I am in work in this district. And it's the first time I've heard about it. So. Yeah.
We take that.
Yeah, I would just add on to that too, because Tom, even, the people that go on it as a board or the public, the board is not involved in it, but, even faculty and staff throughout the district, it seemed like the last 3 years before you came, it was sort of a secret. No one knew who was part of the deeper learning team, and no one knew if they were in Chicago, but no one knew, because it's sort of like we want to celebrate and be excited about who the speakers were and the districts you were with. And so even in my role as chair, I couldn't tell you who would be on that committee or present. And I loved hearing that you could include 10 more people this time around because of Zoom. But yeah, it's sort of like an info sheet, an at a glance sheet, just to give us, the overview. Would be so appreciative.
Yeah, I think sometimes, that work is pretty deep in sort of within the leadership team, right? It's not even like whole leadership team. We actually get the same feedback from cabinet saying we have 27 members of a cabinet. We have 9 or 10 of them. There's a couple on that deeper learning dozen who aren't on the cabinet who say they don't know enough about it either, right? So I think there's this part of it is how do we bring the work back right? So that we can, number one, we can tell the story, but number one, that it's actually changing the way we work and that people see that, right? So my hope is that the community sees that in the way that we develop and implement the strategic plan, right? You see sort of some of the foundations of deeper learning. So, but I hear that, and Russ and I are constantly trying to figure out like how do we get information out to beyond, right, just families and staff and students, and we know we have work to do to improve there too. So
I think part of it honestly feels like prioritization. When this started, it really felt like it was a professional development opportunity, and that's not something that we communicate out about, because we are a school district and we expect our people to be engaged in professional development and to be doing things like this of deep learning and going to conferences. So at first it just seemed like, okay, well, this is cool, but does anybody really care? So I'm hearing that it sounds like maybe people care. It wasn't a focus of ours to put it out there. I'll just be honest. It was something cool that I thought our leaders were doing, but didn't feel like something that the whole community would care to hear about. So that's good feedback, and we want to be good communicators, but I do think there has to be a balance and there has to be prioritization. So, but I'm hearing what you all are saying.
all right, we have a few minutes left.
Meg is not here to hear my defense. So
that's okay. No need for defense.
Yeah.
We love feedback. All right. Well, is there a last question? Tom, I see you popped on the screen. Did you want to say hi?
Hi, folks. I'm the owner's project manager for the other BHS, the original ancient BHS, not the downtown BHS. And we're plugging away. As you know, the PCBs have been a huge issue, and we're realizing that some of what we're finding is unprecedented, and it's kind of exciting. It's very challenging, and we're working our way through it. Not what we ordered, but we're dealing with it.
It was, thank you, Tom. It was, Tom, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but it would be interesting maybe it's to kind of close us out. It was really, we had Senator Baruth and Representative Speaker of the House Krawinski yesterday, both speak to the impact that the PCB situation that we have in Burlington is going to and is having on the state, and how the governor has supported us and also and they are preparing for the impacts that PCB testing. So they're adding to their budget funding to be able to test for PCBs at every school in the state, and putting money toward remediation in the state budget. So it was good to know that number one, we had the support of the governor and the state, and that they were even aware of it. For a while, we were hitting our heads against the wall, Claire, right? Like, is anyone even listening to us? And they were. And so it was good to hear that. And it's good to see there's some action coming out of it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's the tip of a very, very big iceberg. And I think BHS is, for better or for worse, is the poster child for this effort of cleaning up our environment, and we'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all. It's great to see you all.
There were two announcements yesterday when we did our ribbon cutting. I'm not going to get too much into them because they're brand new, but Senator Baruth said that they were going to be setting aside money to do PCB testing at all the schools. And Representative Krawinski said that they are now, because of us, really going to take up a bill to bring back school construction aid. Whether or not that passes this year, we have nothing to do with that, but I just thought you all might want to know that this is not, hopefully some good is at the light at the end of the tunnel, not only for our community, but for the state as a whole. So
thanks for bringing that up, Russ.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today. Good to see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Tom.
Leslie.